Lionel Messi was never supposed to become the greatest footballer the world had ever seen. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't even expected to survive the battle that threatened his dream before it had truly begun. There was a time when doctors believed his body might never fully develop. There was a time when one of the biggest football clubs in Argentina looked at him and decided he wasn't worth the risk. Yet somehow, against every prediction, against every obstacle, this quiet little boy from Rosario would grow into a legend whose name would echo across every stadium on earth. But the road to greatness wasn't built with trophies. It was built with sacrifice, loneliness, heartbreak, and an obsession that never faded. Millions know the goals. Millions remember the celebrations. But very few know what really happened before the cameras arrived, before the Ballon d'Or awards, before the World Cup glory, before Barcelona, and before history was rewritten. There was simply a child chasing a football through dusty streets while carrying a burden far heavier than anyone around him realized. Lionel Andres Messi was born on June 24, 1987, in Rosario, Argentina. It wasn't a city filled with luxury or privilege. It was a place where football wasn't just entertainment. It was hope. Families lived for the game. Children played until sunset without caring about expensive boots or perfect pitches. Every narrow street became a stadium, every empty lot became a battlefield, and every child dreamed of becoming Argentina's next football hero. Messi's family wasn't wealthy. His father, Jorge Messi, worked in a steel factory while also coaching a local youth football team. His mother, Celia, balanced several jobs to help support the family. Money was always limited, but love never was. From the moment Lionel could walk, everyone noticed something unusual. He didn't chase toys. He chased footballs. At only 4 years old, he joined Grandoli, the small local club coached by his father. The other children were bigger and stronger, yet nobody could stop him. The ball seemed attached to his feet. Adults would gather just to watch the tiny boy dribble past children nearly twice his size. People laughed because he looked too small. Then they stopped laughing. Every match ended with people asking the same question. Who is that little kid? His grandmother, Celia, became one of his biggest supporters. She never missed an opportunity to watch him play. She believed in him before anyone else did. She encouraged him, protected him, and constantly reminded him that one day he would become something extraordinary. Years later, every time Messi celebrated a goal by pointing toward the sky, it wasn't random. It was for her. She passed away before seeing her grandson become a superstar, but her belief never left him. As Messi grew older, his talent became impossible to ignore. He joined the famous youth academy of Newell's Old Boys, one of Argentina's biggest football clubs. There, he earned a nickname that perfectly described him, the Machine of 87. His youth team dominated opponents. Goals came effortlessly. Defenders couldn't predict his movement. Coaches struggled to explain how someone so young could see passes that adults couldn't. Everything seemed perfect, until life changed overnight. At the age of 10, Messi was diagnosed with growth hormone deficiency. His body wasn't producing enough hormones to grow naturally. Without treatment, his football career could end before it even began. The injections were expensive, around $1,000 every month. For Messi's family, that amount felt impossible. His parents refused to give up. They made sacrifices. They searched for help. They hoped a professional football club would recognize his talent and invest in his future. At first, Newell's helped. Then financial problems appeared. Eventually, the support disappeared. The treatment stopped. Suddenly, Argentina's brightest young football talent faced an impossible reality. Without medicine, no football. Without football, no dream. Many clubs admired Messi's talent, but nobody wanted to carry the medical costs. Scouts saw the same problem. He is too small. It's too risky. What if he never grows? Every rejection hurt. Every door closed. Every opportunity vanished. Most children would have accepted defeat. Messi didn't. He kept training every single day. Rain or shine. Win or lose. Hope or disappointment. Then destiny intervened. A family connection introduced Messi to people linked with Barcelona in Spain. One of the club scouts, Carlos Rexach, agreed to watch the young Argentine. The trial wasn't glamorous. No giant stadium. No worldwide audience. Just a small training session. Within minutes, everyone watching realized they were seeing something extraordinary. Messi danced through defenders as if they weren't there. Older boys couldn't take the ball away. Every touch looked effortless. Every movement looked impossible. Rexach reportedly became so convinced that Barcelona had to sign him immediately that, with no official contract available, he wrote an agreement on a simple paper napkin. It became one of football's most famous stories. Barcelona agreed to pay for Messi's medical treatment, but accepting the offer meant leaving everything behind. At only 13 years old, Lionel Messi would leave Argentina, leave friends, leave family members, leave his hometown, leave the only life he had ever known. He moved to Spain with enormous expectations resting on tiny shoulders. The language was familiar, but everything else felt different. Different culture, different teammates, different pressure, different future. Many young talents fail during moments like these. Homesickness destroys confidence. Pressure overwhelms ability. Dreams disappear quietly. For Messi, the first months were painfully lonely. He missed Rosario. He missed his grandmother. He missed his childhood friends. Some days he barely spoke. Football became the only language he truly understood. Barcelona's famous La Masia Academy quickly realized they weren't training an ordinary player. Every practice ended with coaches shaking their heads in disbelief. His balance looked supernatural. His acceleration seemed impossible. He could weave through defenders and spaces that shouldn't even exist. Yet, despite his talent, there were still doubters. Too small, too fragile, too quiet, too weak. The criticism never stopped. Neither did Messi. Every injection made him stronger. Every training session made him faster. Every rejection made him hungrier. He wasn't trying to become famous. He was simply trying to survive. Because for Lionel Messi, football wasn't a game. It was life itself. And without realizing it, the quiet boy from Rosario had already taken the first steps toward becoming the greatest player football would ever witness. Leaving Argentina had saved Lionel Messi's dream, but it also came with a price he never expected. While millions of children dreamed about joining Barcelona's famous academy, Messi found himself alone in a new country, separated from the people who had always believed in him. Every night, he missed home. Every phone call reminded him of the life he had left behind. There were moments when the loneliness became almost unbearable. Yet every morning, he tied his boots, stepped onto the training ground, and let the football speak for him. At La Masia, Barcelona's legendary youth academy, competition was unlike anything Messi had ever experienced. Every player had been the best in their hometown. Every teenager believed he was destined for greatness. But within weeks, coaches noticed something extraordinary about the quiet Argentine. He never demanded attention. He never celebrated flashy skills during practice. Instead, he made the impossible look effortless. Defenders quickly learned that stopping Messi wasn't about strength. It was about predicting movements that nobody could predict. He seemed to know exactly where every player would move before they did. His balance was unbelievable. Opponents pushed him, grabbed his shirt, and tried to force him off the ball, but somehow he stayed on his feet. It was as if gravity worked differently for him. One youth coach later admitted that training sessions often had to be stopped because everyone was simply watching Messi play instead of focusing on their own game. He wasn't just scoring goals. He was changing the way football looked. But even as his talent became obvious, doubts continued to follow him. Critics still questioned his size. Some believed he would never survive professional football against powerful defenders. Others thought he relied too much on his left foot. Every compliment seemed to come with another criticism. Messi never answered with words. He answered with performances. As the years passed, he climbed through Barcelona's youth teams faster than almost anyone expected. Every level became too easy. Every coach recommended promoting him to the next age group. Players several years older struggled to stop the teenager who barely spoke during training. Then came the moment every young footballer dreams about. In late 2003, at just 16 years old, Messi was invited to train with Barcelona's first team. Imagine being a teenager, walking into a dressing room filled with players you've watched on television your entire childhood. Legends surrounded him. Experienced professionals filled every corner of the room. Among them was one man who immediately noticed the shy youngster, Ronaldinho. At the time, Ronaldinho wasn't just Barcelona's biggest star. He was considered one of the greatest players in the world. His smile, creativity, and magical skills had transformed the club. Yet instead of treating Messi like an inexperienced teenager, Ronaldinho welcomed him. During training sessions, Ronaldinho often encouraged a young Argentine to play without fear. He passed him the ball, supported him, and constantly reminded others how special Messi truly was. Many years later, people would say that Ronaldinho didn't simply inspire Messi. He handed him the future. Barcelona's coaches now face an important decision. Was Messi ready? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. On October 16, 2004, 17-year-old Lionel Messi made his official debut for Barcelona in a league match against Espanyol. It wasn't a glamorous performance. He played only a few minutes. But history had quietly begun. The little boy who once feared his dream was over had officially become a Barcelona first-team player. Still, becoming part of the squad was only the beginning. The real challenge was earning a place among some of Europe's greatest footballers. Competition was fierce. Mistakes were punished. Every match mattered. Every training session could decide someone's future. Messi continued working harder than anyone around him. While others relied on physical strength, he perfected every touch of the ball. He practiced dribbling endlessly. He repeated movements until they became instinct. He stayed after training when others went home. Then came a night that changed everything. On May 1st, 2005, Barcelona faced Albacete in a league match. Ronaldinho received the ball near midfield and spotted Messi making a run behind the defense. With incredible vision, he lifted the perfect pass over defenders. Messi timed his run perfectly. One touch, a delicate chip over the goalkeeper. Goal! The stadium erupted. Lionel Messi had scored his very first official goal for Barcelona. Ronaldinho celebrated more wildly than anyone else, jumping onto Messi's back as thousands of fans witnessed what would become one of football's most iconic images. No one inside the stadium realized they had just seen the first goal of a career that would eventually produce hundreds more. That season ended with Barcelona winning the league title. Messi's contribution had been small compared to the senior stars. But inside the club, everyone understood something important. A new era had quietly begun. Over the next 2 seasons, Messi's reputation exploded. Every appearance seemed to include another unbelievable dribble, another impossible assist, another goal that left defenders frozen. Newspapers across Europe began asking the same question. Could this teenager become the next great football superstar? Comparisons with football legends started almost immediately. Some called him the next Diego Maradona. Others believed he could become even greater. Messi ignored the headlines. He remained humble. He still preferred spending time with family rather than attending glamorous parties. Fame never seemed to change his personality. While other young stars chased attention, Messi focused only on football. Then came one unforgettable night. In April 2007, Barcelona faced Getafe in the Copa del Rey. Messi picked up the ball deep inside his own half. He accelerated, one defender beaten. Then another. Goalkeeper to beat. Goal. Commentators around the world couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. The goal looked almost identical to Diego Maradona's famous goal of the century against England in the 1986 World Cup. The comparisons became impossible to ignore. For the first time, people stopped asking whether Messi would become a great player. Instead, they asked something much bigger. Could this quiet boy from Rosario become the greatest footballer in history? The answer was still years away. But destiny was already preparing him for challenges far greater than anyone imagined. Because the next chapter of Lionel Messi's life wouldn't only bring success, it would bring fierce rivalries, unimaginable pressure, heartbreaking failures, and a battle to prove that true greatness isn't measured by talent alone. By 2008, Lionel Messi was no longer just Barcelona's brightest young talent. He had become the face of a new generation. Stadiums filled wherever he played. Defenders built entire game plans around stopping him. Children copied his dribbles in schoolyards across the world. But as Messi continued to rise, another force was preparing to challenge him. His name was Cristiano Ronaldo. The rivalry between Messi and Ronaldo will become the greatest individual competition in football history. Every goal, every assist, every trophy, every record. Fans compared everything. Supporters argued endlessly over who was better. Newspapers turned every match into a battle. Social media exploded after every performance. But while the world focused on the rivalry, Messi stayed focused on one thing: winning. Under coach Pep Guardiola, Barcelona transformed into one of the greatest teams football had ever seen. Guardiola believed football wasn't just about attacking or defending. It was about controlling every second of the game. Possession became their weapon, movement became their language, and Messi became the heart of it all. Although he had started his career as a winger, Guardiola made a bold decision. He moved Messi into a false nine role. Many experts doubted the idea. Traditional strikers stayed near the goal. Messi didn't. He dropped into midfield, pulled defenders out of position, created space for teammates, and then suddenly appeared inside the penalty area to score. Opposing teams had never seen anything like it. The experiment changed football forever. In the 2008-09 season, Barcelona were unstoppable. They won La Liga. They won the Copa del Rey. They won the UEFA Champions League. No Spanish club had ever achieved this historic treble before. At the center of it all stood Lionel Messi. In the Champions League final against Manchester United FC, few expected a small Argentine to dominate against some of Europe's strongest defenders. Yet in one unforgettable moment, Messi rose between towering defenders and scored with a powerful header, despite standing only around 5 feet 7 inches tall. It wasn't just a goal. It was a statement. Size had never defined him. Talent had. That same year, Messi won his first Ballon d'Or, football's most prestigious individual award. As he held the golden trophy in his hands, many remembered the little boy doctors once believed would never fully grow. Now, he stood on top of the football world, but success only increased the pressure. Every season, people expected more. More goals, more trophies, more records. Instead of slowing down, Messi somehow became even better. Season after season, he broke records that experts once believed would stand forever. In 2010, then 2011, then 2012, he kept rewriting football history. The year 2012 became almost unbelievable. Messi scored 91 goals in a single calendar year, breaking a record that had stood for decades. Commentators struggled to find new words. Every weekend seemed impossible. Hat tricks became normal, for goals in one match, sometimes even 5. Defenders weren't simply losing to Messi anymore. They were becoming part of history. Barcelona's style of football reached levels many still consider the greatest club football ever played. Together with stars like Xavi and Andres Iniesta, Messi helped create a team that dominated Europe. Fans believed they were watching perfection. Yet football has a cruel way of reminding everyone that no dynasty lasts forever. Gradually, Barcelona began changing. Legendary players grew older. Managers came and went. New signings struggled to match the previous generation. The club still depended heavily on Messi, perhaps too heavily. Every difficult match ended with the same expectation: Messi will save us. Often, he did. But there was another battle that haunted him far more than anything happening in Spain. Argentina, representing his country, had always meant everything to Messi. Yet wearing the famous blue and white shirt brought enormous pressure. Many Argentine fans believed he could never equal the legacy of Diego Maradona. Every defeat brought criticism. Every missed opportunity became national news. In the 2014 FIFA World Cup, Messi carried Argentina all the way to the final. Millions believed destiny had arrived. The final against Germany's national football team became one of the biggest matches of his career. Messi created chances. Argentina fought bravely. But football can be brutally unforgiving. In extra time, Germany scored. The dream was over. As German players celebrated, cameras captured Messi walking past the World Cup trophy. He looked at it for just a moment. So close, yet impossibly far away. The image became one of the most heartbreaking photographs in football history. Many believed he would have another chance. Instead, the pain continued. Argentina reached the Copa America final in 2015. They lost. Another final. Another heartbreak. 1 year later, in 2016, the exact same story repeated itself. Another Copa America final. Another penalty shootout. Another defeat. This time, Messi misses penalty. The criticism became unbearable. Headlines questioned his leadership. Television debates called him a failure for his national team. Some even claimed he would never win anything with Argentina. Then came the moment that shocked the entire football world. With tears in his eyes, Lionel Messi announced his retirement from international football. "I've done all I can," he said. "It's over." Fans around the world couldn't believe it. How could the greatest player of his generation walk away? Was this really the end of his dream with Argentina? Or was destiny simply saving its greatest chapter for later? At that moment, no one knew that the most emotional victory of Lionel Messi's life was still waiting just beyond the horizon. For years, Lionel Messi had achieved almost everything a footballer could dream of. League titles, Champions League trophies, individual awards, records that seemed impossible to break. Yet there was one achievement that remained missing. One trophy that followed him like a shadow. The FIFA World Cup. For many fans, greatness was judged by one question. Can you win the World Cup? And for Messi, that question became the biggest burden of his entire career. No matter how many goals he scored for Barcelona, no matter how many records he broke, critics always returned to the same argument. Maradona won the World Cup. Messi hasn't. The comparisons never stopped. Every match with Argentina carried the weight of an entire nation. After announcing his international retirement in 2016, Messi faced one of the most difficult decisions of his life. Millions of Argentine fans begged him to return. Teammates called him. Supporters organized campaigns asking him not to leave. Eventually, Messi changed his mind. He returned to the national team. But something was different. The pressure was still there. The expectations were still enormous. However, Messi seemed calmer. He understood that he didn't need to prove himself to everyone anymore. He only needed to play. Slowly, Argentina began building a stronger team around him. New players arrived. A new generation developed. The atmosphere inside the national team changed. Then came the 2021 Copa America. For years, Messi had carried the pain of losing international finals. 3 finals lost. 3 unforgettable disappointments. Many wondered if he would ever lift a trophy wearing Argentina's famous shirt. The tournament reached its final. Argentina faced Brazil at the legendary Maracana Stadium. The match was tense. Every second felt like history. Then the final whistle arrived. Argentina won. After decades of waiting, Lionel Messi finally lifted an international trophy. The emotion was overwhelming. His teammates surrounded him. He smiled. He cried. The player who had experienced so much criticism finally achieved the one thing people said he never could. But destiny wasn't finished. The biggest chapter was still waiting. The 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar became Messi's final opportunity. At 35 years old, many believed this was his last chance. The tournament began with a shock. Argentina lost their opening match against Saudi Arabia. The world reacted immediately. Was Messi's dream ending before it even started? But instead of collapsing, Argentina responded. Game after game, Messi produced moments that reminded everyone why he was considered one of the greatest players ever. He scored, he assisted, he controlled matches. But more importantly, he inspired. Argentina reached the final. Standing between Messi and immortality was France, a young, powerful team led by Kylian Mbappe. The final became one of the greatest matches in World Cup history. Argentina dominated early. Messi scored from the penalty spot. Then Argentina extended their lead. For a moment, it looked finished. The dream was almost complete. But France refused to surrender. Mbappe scored twice in a matter of minutes. Suddenly, the impossible happened. The match was tied. Extra time arrived. The pressure was unbearable. Messi scored again. Argentina celebrated, but once again, France responded. Mbappe completed his hat trick. The score was level. The World Cup final went to penalties. Millions around the world watched in silence. Every kick carried decades of history. Argentina scored. France missed. And then it was over. Argentina were champions. Lionel Messi had finally won the World Cup. The player who had been told he wasn't strong enough. The child who needed expensive medical treatment. The teenager who left his family at 13. The superstar who carried years of criticism. He finally held the trophy that had escaped him for so long. The image of Messi lifting the World Cup became one of the most iconic moments in sports history. A career that began with doubt ended with redemption. But perhaps the most beautiful part of Messi's story is not the trophies. It's the journey. He never became the loudest person in the room. He never needed to. His football spoke for him. While many athletes built their identities around confidence and attention, Messi remained a quiet genius. The boy from Rosario who preferred playing football over talking about himself. The player who let his feet tell a story. Over his career, Messi transformed football. He showed that greatness doesn't always come in the biggest body. It doesn't always come from the loudest voice. Sometimes greatness comes from a small child who refuses to give up, a child who keeps chasing a dream even when the world says it is impossible. Today, Lionel Messi's legacy is not only measured by goals or trophies, it is measured by inspiration. Millions of children around the world look at Messi and believe they can achieve something extraordinary because his story proves that obstacles don't always destroy dreams. Sometimes they create legends. From the streets of Rosario to the greatest stadiums on earth, Lionel Messi's journey became more than a football story. It became a story about patience, a story about sacrifice, a story about believing when nobody else does. The boy who was once considered too small for football became the man who stood above the entire football world. And after decades of waiting, after years of heartbreak, after countless moments of doubt, Lionel Messi finally completed the story that football had been waiting to witness. A story of a boy, a ball, and a dream that became immortal.